Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, I guess. Let me go live on TikTok while we're talking here. Unorange myself on TikTok. There we go. Boom. Go live. Excellent. Welcome, TikTokers. Welcome, YouTubers. I feel like Bilbo doing his 111th birthday. Welcome, maybe Facebookers and Twitterers as well, though I think mostly we've got TikTok. Hey guys on TikTok, I see you filing in, and YouTubers. Please introduce yourselves. Just say where you're from if you would. We always like to kind of start the show with that, with folks just saying where they're from. Kind of fun to see. Alaska, Arizona, Ypsilanti. I always remember you in Ypsilanti. Seattle, Sacramento, CNY, Charlotte. Where else we got? Cleveland, Washington. Come on, where are my Europeans? Zurich, thank you. Poland, Zurich, Ireland, Sweden. There you go. I was going to say, I'm doing this earlier in the day for you guys on the weekends. New Hampshire, Missouri, Michigan, Canada. Always lots of Canada. We love Canada. Here's Johnny. This is true. Finland, lovely. Lithuania. We've got Ireland. We got everybody today between the EU and NATO. Excellent. Kentucky, Estonia, very nice. Netherlands, Germany, London, Sweden. Oh my God. Portugal. We do get to Croatia. We do get a much more diverse audience on the weekend. I know. Sorry, guys. It's really hard with the timing, though, because a lot of our audience is American. So it's easier to do the news. And frankly, it kind of makes more sense to do the news update at the end of the day, because it's sort of like a day's worth of news. So unfortunately, hello, Ireland. Nice to see you. Foxtrot. What else we got? Canada. Anyway, folks, welcome. We usually like to go for about a minute or two just to let folks trickle in. It's funny, though. I always feel like the weekend should be busier, but the weekend is always slower for these. It always surprises me. Maybe I'm the only one without a life. I'm actually home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon now that we're trying to escape COVID finally. But we'll take another minute just to let folks drip in. Say where you're from. Scotland, Poland. What else we got? Wakanda, Nova Scotia, England, Chicago, London. It's funny. It's a smaller crowd, but it's way more diverse geographically. That's for sure on the weekend. So I don't mind doing this. Denmark, Netherlands, Indianapolis. I could try doing a little bit. We'll see. I don't know. I don't want to go late for Europe, but we could always try to maybe 4 o'clock or something just to kind of see what the difference is some point. Yes, whack-a-mole, whack-a-troll, our favorite game on TikTok. Wales. All right, guys. People are dribbling in. Maybe I'll go one more minute till it's 5 after the hour. And then we'll start. We're just letting folks trickle in. Introduce yourselves, where you're from. Palos Hills. Got relatives from there. California, UK, Michigan, Jersey. Bev, okay. Yeah, that's fine, Bev. Just remind us tomorrow. Yeah, just remind us tomorrow. Moderators, if you can try to remember, or just remember when Bev kind of weighs in and says, hey, you forgot my super chat question. Maybe write it in all caps, even though that's obnoxious. It still gets like our attention. So it's a better way for people to see it. All right, guys. All right, we're 5 after the hour. Oh, good. Actually, people did trickle in on TikTok. Thanks, TikTokers. It was a little slow. I know it's a Saturday. Welcome all. Welcome all YouTubers. I'm John Arvosis in Washington, D.C. We're going to spend next 20, 25 minutes maybe doing a news summary of the latest from Ukraine. Surprisingly, I've got a lot of news since yesterday, and I'm very surprised because we did our last show last night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. Right now, it's 1 p.m. Eastern Time, so it's only been a little over half a day, but a lot of news, which is good. Not necessarily good, which will keep things interesting. Some of it's not good, of course. Let's jump right in. Once I do the 20 minutes or so of news summary and why I think the news matters, we will jump to the questions and answers part. On TikTok, just actually easier on TikTok to submit your questions versus the question function. Somewhere on that screen is a way for you to interact and submit questions. Do it there if you would. On YouTube, you all know, submit them in the questions, in the posts, comments, and And if you get super chat questions, I will promise to get to those first. And I'll even jump in during my summary now if you got a super chat question. Thank you. Our first little gift on TikTok. Thank you for that. But I will do your question as the next issue I get to in my summary right now if you do a super chat question. And super stickers are just fun and nice and your way of saying thanks. So I appreciate those too, and especially on TikTok. On TikTok, it's always fun stuff falling. All right, guys, let's start off. So, our fundraiser, we're up to almost maybe $9,200 that we've raised for medical kits in Ukraine. We are sending military-grade medical kits to Ukraine for the military and civilians too if they need them. We've already bought 80 of them and shipped them off to a Ukrainian charity who is boxing up everything and shipping it over there in mass, which also helps because, thank you for the origami, I did see that. Because with the Ukrainian charity sending it, it saves me the money and time so I can spend more of your money on the actual medical kits. 100% of your donation is going to the medical kits. The prices vary. It's usually around $105. It just jumped to $110 on Amazon. You know the way Amazon does that goofy back and forth price thing. But nonetheless, my goal was to get $10,000 for 100 or so kits. And we got about 800 to go. So I think we're doing pretty well. And I've got some big friends on Monday who want to really help me promote it on Twitter, which would be nice. So hopefully we get one last blast. In any case, if you want to donate, go on TikTok, go to my profile. You'll see the beacons link. Click that. And the very first thing that comes up, thank you, will be how to donate to buy the medical kits. And remember, all you Europeans and everybody else, even though it says PayPal, it's not really PayPal. You can use a credit card. So you don't have to have PayPal. So there's no excuse other than, of course, you don't have the money, then totally an excuse. And YouTubers, I think, yeah, Be Kind just posted the link. So thanks, Be Kind. All right, let's jump right in. So surprise news this morning, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in Kyiv and just met with President Zelensky, which is pretty darn cool. Surprised everybody. They are not yet saying what they were talking about. It was just announced. They released a photo of the meeting. Very nice symbolism. You know, these kind of things. I'll say two things. It's nice symbolism, but also for somebody like Johnson, who's already been very outspokenly in favor of Ukraine compared to a lot of the other European countries. I mean, everyone's in favor, but he's been pushing even harder. It's the personal touch still helps. And for these leaders to meet each other and get to know each other, that personal relationship just, it helps in politics. I mean, even though you're thinking of your own national interest, which of course, Prime Minister Johnson would, I kept wanting to call him Yeltsin. Nonetheless, having that personal connection with Zelensky would still bias him towards helping even more potentially. So that's a good thing. Troops are stalled. So the New York Times says that Moscow's forces are in eastern Ukraine appear to be stalled, according to the latest assessment from the Institute for the Study of War, a Washington, D.C. think tank that is highly thought of. The Times quotes them a lot. Thank you for that on TikTok. The troops are, quote, unlikely to enable a Russian breakthrough and face poor morale. That's interesting, because if you remember the last couple of days I've been telling you, we keep kind of hearing both things here. We're hearing that Ukraine needs to really watch it as Russia moves the war into the east, because that's now the new focus, right? Eastern Ukraine, the area that Russia basically wants to steal and make part of Russia. That very risky for Ukraine. Some of Russia's best troops are there. Mom's going to freeze me again. Ma, I'm going to kill you. And I bet you I just froze on TikTok. We're going to wait a second, YouTube, and see if Mom did I just freeze on TikTok? I'll bet I did. Bet I did. Frozen. All right, here we go. Oh, this is too funny. It's just, I mean, it's Mom. It's the mom karma. There's no way around it. The mom karma is that Mom's going to call in the middle of the in the show. There's just no other way around it. All right. Sorry, getting my orange face going. There we go. All right, we'll give him a second, guys. Oh, my God. Hey, AJK. My mother called again. I feel like the guy living in the basement. Ma! Oh, my God. The thing is, too, is I've got my my phone set to do not disturb, but Mom being Mom has special dispensation. So, yes, everybody, my mother did, in fact, call and cut you off again. The same thing she did the other night. My mom is psychic, apparently. Mom only calls when I'm in the middle. She called, the last time Mom called was 8 o'clock at night in the middle of this a couple nights ago. And now Mom calls now. Yeah, I can't. It's too. Mom's 92. If I give her my schedule, she's, I just have to. You know what I need to do? It was mom again. So what I need to do next time, I promise I'm going to jump back into the. See, this really sucks too, because we had 2,500 on TikTok and now we're back to 500 again. We had so many people, Ma. Anyway, I'm going to jump back in. You know what I'm going to do? I'm now going to call mom every time before I do the show, because that will be a way that every time I got to call mom every day now, thanks to you guys. I guess there could be worse. All right. Any case, I'm going to jump back into the news. If you guys want to keep explaining on TikTok what happened to folks, just kind of mention for the next minute or two that my mom called and it disconnected my TikTok, even though I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. So yeah, the Russian troops are stalled reportedly, and this is interesting. So I was saying that there's a report out that the Russian troops are stalled in eastern Ukraine. This is the area of the country the Russians are really going after now. Big Russian troop buildup. They want to steal eastern Ukraine as sort of as a minimum from this war. They wanted to steal eastern Ukraine and annex it to Russia. The issue is that I'm seeing some reports of people very worried about what could happen to the Ukrainian forces in the east. You've got really good Russian forces there. And the Russians, supposedly they're moving in troops from Syria, this Wagner group, the mercenary killers, they've moved in maybe 1,000 of them. So there's concern about it being a much harder fight for Ukraine. At the same time, I'm seeing repeated reports like this today saying that the Russians, their troop readiness is horrible. Now we're going to have the dog bark too. Sash? I hope after 2 years of COVID, you guys are used to the fact that people do things at home and you get everything to surprise you. I don't have a baby, at least. I have a dog. No cats and no baby. Sasha, come on. So anyway, very interesting, though. Very interesting. Now, this goes hand in hand with something I was going to say later on, but I should put it with this. U.S. officials are saying that Russia may be trying to mobilize 60,000 reservists, military reservists, to help. But again, the experts are saying it's not clear they're going to help. That basically Russia's problem, I was actually watching one former general on TV this morning. Russia's problem is they just are bad at doing this war, whether it's bad at war overall or this war. Now, another news tidbit that's relevant here, Russia has finally appointed a high-ranking general to oversee the entire Ukraine invasion. Now, this is interesting because what Russia was doing before, and this is crazy, they had like 20 generals on the ground. The Ukrainians killed 7 of them, if not more. And each general was running his little area. So one guy was in charge of bombing Odessa. Literally 20 different generals. And it wasn't organized. Simply from Moscow, they were trying to organize this. There wasn't anybody on the ground. Well, this general now will be the first person to actually organize on the ground the whole war. Much smarter of Russia to do this more wisely. But the only thing is, you still get into that issue of people saying that the Russians they don't seem to be very good at this. The other report was that CNN quoted a European official saying that a quarter of Russian forces in Ukraine are effectively inoperable because the equipment's been destroyed, men have been killed, men have been injured, men are just exhausted. I was reading one of the wireless intercepts yesterday that the Ukrainians put out. They've been putting out intercepted phone calls and radio calls that the Russians have been doing with family back home. And it's really, with the Russian troops, and it's been really amazing. I mean, these guys talk about hunkering down and just getting bombed and killed. One guy I was reading yesterday, I may try to pull it up and read it, print it out and read it for a TikTok I'll do. But one guy yesterday was talking about how everyone's dead in his unit. I mean, pretty much everyone's dead. Said, the guy next to me, this other guy. The mom back home is saying how she goes, oh my God, so-and-so down the block, her husband's dead. So-and-so across the street, her husband's dead. So-and-so, basically people the son knows. So-and-so, her son is dead. Basically, both the mom and the kid both say everyone's dying. So that is not just hurting Russia because they don't have enough troops once they're dead, but also it really doesn't help morale. Thank you for that on TikTok. It doesn't help morale when you see everybody around you dying and when your family back home sees everybody dying because, again, hard to believe the truth, Anyway, very interesting. So the update on the train station, not much of an update. As you know, yesterday, Russia launched 2 missiles at the Chromatorus train station in eastern Ukraine. It's a station that was used by refugees to get out. Thank you for that on TikTok. For refugees, the Russians bombed it. The death total is up to 52 now. a number of children, of course. I had mentioned to you yesterday that the day before, the Russians had bombed a train overpass, which backed up some of the trains. Again, this sure looks intentional. It backed up some of the trains, so there were 500 more people than usual in that train station because of the Russian bombing the day before. So almost as if they were trying to have more people there. Now, another interesting report I read this morning. Who was this that reported this? This was, I believe, Channel 4. Yes, it was. Channel 4 in the UK reports that the day before the train bombing, but they held, to their credit, they held this news out of interest of security. That's my dog on the couch for you YouTubers. You saw her pop up. The day before the Russians bombed the train station in Chromatorus in eastern Ukraine, a missile went flying by within 2 blocks, 500 meters or 1,500 feet. I saw that on TikTok. Thank you. Of the main Kharkiv train station, and the Ukrainians shot it down. Very interesting. Now, again, and this was an hour. I'm sorry, not the day before. This was an hour before the Russians blew up the train station in Kramatorsk. Now, Kharkiv is pretty much just north of there. Kharkiv is still in eastern Ukraine. It's the second largest city, 1.5 million people. Russians have been bombing it horrifically, still haven't been able to take it. Just very interesting because it sounds like the Russians were trying to blow up another civilian train station an hour before. This story again. Remember a couple of days ago how the Russians had blown up a nitric acid tank and put all these toxic fumes in the air? And I think even one of you had asked, we had a question from somebody saying, would that count as a chemical attack? And I was saying if it was intentional, if they did it hoping to spread chemicals around to hurt people, then it is. Thank you, my favorite sorting hat. Well, they did it again. The Russian troops hit the nitric acid tank, the same freaking tank or the tank area in Rubizhne in Luhansk in eastern Ukraine again. Same plant they hit 4 days ago. Newsweek, I was looking just to see sort of what the possible damage is. Thank you for the crown. And Newsweek said that the dangerous effect of nitric acid on people. Nitric acid is dangerous if inhaled, swallowed, and in contact with skin. You're probably not going to swallow it, but you could inhale it or have it in contact with your skin if it's in the air. Acid fumes are irritating to the respiratory tract, can cause irritation to eyes, skin, mucous membranes when inhaled, swallowed, or touched. Anyway, they're, it's like sometimes with these stories, I feel like, what do you even say? Thank you for that. There's some of the intercept. Now we're getting to the nastier news, but I saved like 4 or 5 good. Okay, rather than calling them good, 4 or 5 better news stories for the end. So fret not. We're doing a few of the bad ones right now. There were more wire intercepts with Russian troops. One Russian soldier telling another one, first you interrogate people, then you kill them. That was sort of the order or the recommendation one Russian soldier was giving another. There are also more stories of rape coming out, a lot of them actually. I've been almost trying to avoid the rape stories because something about it, it's too graphic to say. I can write it down. I feel like it's just way too graphic to say. In any case, you can Google, go to Google News and just Google, Russia rape Ukraine, and you will see tons of stories. Well, this one's especially horrible. It is, the video's gone around. The story is almost so horrible that I keep wanting to think it's a hoax or something, but I'll say allegedly because, let's identify the guy. And actually, they did identify the guy. A Russian soldier whose name people have identified or believe they've identified shared a video that appeared to show him raping a toddler, meaning a child that looked to be 6, maybe 8 months old in a crib. Literally 6 to 8 months old baby. Horrific. I saw a couple still shots. Thank God they were blacked out, so to speak, and was like, oh my God. There was a whole video. It apparently was on Twitter for a while, so people have seen it. And just wow. The good thing is they do know this guy's name if it's true. I had actually said, what was it? The other day we were talking about this, and one of you was asking, I forget which, TikTok or YouTube, but one of you had asked and said, is it possible for the Ukrainians to somehow hack the cell phones and get the videos? Because, the Russians, some of these Russian troops have got to be taking videos of their war crimes because they're so proud of themselves, right? And I had mentioned to you that I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if they were posting them on VKontakte, which is, I call it the Facebook of Russia. It's not Facebook, but it's a ripoff of Facebook. What I wasn't thinking, which is true, is Telegram. Everyone's using Telegram, the Russians and the Ukrainians. And I believe this guy used Telegram to post it. So just, I mean, horrific. Another horrific little news. And then we're moving on to the better news. Russian state-controlled media is citing sources in the Russian military. So this is what the Russians are fessing up to, claiming that 674,000 Ukrainians were moved to Russia, of whom 131,000 are children. Now, I believe I had seen that it's possible. Well, we don't even know, though, that it's possible 300,000 went intentionally as refugees. The problem is, I published this report yesterday of a guy, Ukrainian from Mariupol, who escaped. And he talks about his escape from that town. Mariupol is the town in southeast Ukraine that's being bombed to death. The Russians have been bombing it for literally 6 weeks. They want to take over. It's crucially important to take over Mariupol for the Russians to establish this. They want this entire corridor they want to steal in the southeast. They've got Crimea, which is the peninsula in the south of Ukraine that the Russians stole in 2014. They want to steal the eastern provinces that we're talking about. Oh, that's new. I haven't seen that before. Thank you. They want to steal the eastern provinces where they're doing the fighting now. And they also want to steal land in between. Well, that land in between, the major city is Mariupol. That's why you hear so much about Mariupol being attacked. No food, no water. I mean, this is 6 weeks now. These people have been, trying to find food, trying to find water. In a way, they've been lucky it's winter. Well, I guess summer you'd have rain too, but they've been gathering up snow and melting it for water. Just horrific conditions. No heat. In any case, I published an essay from the guy who escaped. And what he said was he went to Russia because he had a visa and thought he'd be okay for a couple of days going there, but that he was with a bunch of other refugees from Mariupol. Thank you for the lights. And he said the Russians allowed him to go, but that about maybe 10 to 15% of the refugees were refugees like him who chose to go to Russia just because there was nowhere else to go. The Russians literally wouldn't let him leave the town and go anywhere else. They only let him go towards Russia. But he said for 85 to 90% of the refugees from Mariupol, the Russians forced them to go to Russia. That basically they're kidnapping people and they're not giving a choice. And his quote was, because the citizens from Mariupol who escaped knew too much. So the Russians didn't want them to go and tell the other Ukrainians. Really nasty. So better news. The Ukrainian government is claiming that it has been able to identify some of the troops. Thank you for that on TikTok. That it has been able to identify some of the troops, the Russian troops who were in Bucha, the town where the horrific human rights abuses were committed over a 20-day period. This is the town we found out about last weekend. Remember all the people lying dead along the road, the people tied up and executed, just horrific. The person on the bike who was shot while riding their bike, crazy stories. Well, the Ukrainians say that they've been using Face ID technology to identify the soldiers. Now, I have no idea how they've gotten pictures of the soldiers' faces. My guess is maybe there were security cameras or other kind of CCTV or something in that town, because we've seen satellite images from on top. We have not seen images from like stores and things showing Russian faces. So clearly this means the Ukrainians have some of that and they've been able to identify some of the troops. Ukraine's dogs will be dogs. You know this. That would be Sasha. You'll meet her at the end of the show, hopefully. Ukraine's application to the European Union is being fast-tracked. They will, in principle, have candidate status, I believe it's called, in June, which I think means, you're sort of preliminarily accepted and you start the road. I will say one thing. I saw some Ukrainians complaining that, it took 18 years for this. For 18 years, Ukraine has been trying to join the European Union. It took the country almost getting wiped out. Nonetheless, this is a good thing for Ukraine. This one was interesting, and I even took a lot of notes on this. So one of the stories from the last few days was the European Union had banned truck traffic from Russia and Belarus coming into Europe because it was still a way that a lot of the Russians were doing business, right? They were sending their Russian trucks back and forth. Well, what do you know? The story's a little more complicated than the Europeans let on. This stuff just drives me nuts. I mean, every time we try to do something, they pretend it's big. I mean, our government too kind of pretends it's big, and then you find out there were loopholes, right? Like, for example, the Russian bank assets being frozen, and we only found out earlier this week, that we were letting the Russians take money out anyway to pay for their debt. It's like, why were we letting them take out money to pay for their debt if it was frozen a month ago? Like, what's that about? Or a couple weeks ago? Well, this one, I'm just going to read this to you. The EU on Friday, this was New York Times, I believe. EU on Friday formally adopted new sanctions against Russia, including bans on the import of coal, wood, chemicals, and other products, while also preventing many Russian trucks and vessels from accessing the bloc. I saw many and I went, many? What does many mean? Thank you for that. Many means not all. The next paragraph. According to available information, the restrictions do not yet apply to road freight transport delivering pharmaceutical, medical, food, and agricultural products, including wheat, as well as the delivery of energy, non-ferrous metals, and fertilizers. So it would seem it's not a complete embargo on trade. Now, obviously, we knew energy, okay? We knew if there's natural gas or oil, however the heck that, I mean, I know they use pipelines. I don't know, maybe some energy maybe comes on trucks too. We knew they weren't doing energy beyond coal, but give me a break. I mean, pharmaceuticals and medical, maybe. Though frankly, even that, I'm like, you know what? Why should we be providing? I would give medicine that wouldn't be used in war. I would consider doing that, but I wouldn't give them anything they could use in war. That's ridiculous. But food, agricultural products, anyway. That was just a bit annoying to me. It was yet another story I looked at and went, really? It just feels halfway, If you guys have a question on TikTok, put it in the question box thingy under Interact, I believe, and I will get to those in a second. Boston Marathon. See, this is the better, I say not good news, the better news section. The Boston Marathon this year has banned Russian and Belarusian athletes. Sanctions. I saw some photos this morning from Julia Davis, who's really interesting. She's a journalist, follows Russia very closely. I'm convinced she must speak Russian because she's always finding cool things and putting them up before everybody else has them, which means she's able to, translate it firsthand. And she put up photos from Russian supermarkets. And apparently the Russians now have locked up, like, I'm trying to think what in grocery stores is locked up like this. I don't even remember anymore. I think in the old days we had like pseudoephedrine and things like that they were like in a case, but it was locked. Cigarettes maybe used to be this way. Some of the tech stuff used to, like the movies and stuff, used to be locked up. Well, they've locked these things. Butter, cheese, and some canned goods have been locked up either in little boxes, like the butter was inside little anti-theft plastic boxes that you can't open unless they open it at the front desk. So if you steal it, you'd have to like bang the bejesus out of this thing. The cheese had those little things on them that you find at the clothing store. Those little alarms that can't come off, and the alarm, they've got it on cheese. So if you steal cheese, the alarm goes off. Apparently, this is an indication of how bad the sanctions are against Russia, that the prices are going up so high that people are starting to steal things because it's just too expensive. So, yep, butter and cheese with those little tags on them. Kind of amazing. Finally, I actually want to mention one little aside. I saw, thanks to one of you, actually, this was a TikTok person. Thanks to one of you yesterday in the comments, you mentioned that that in my controls, thank you for the origami, in my moderation controls, I'm able to block, okay. Oh, want to bet? Oh, yes. I blocked somebody even before my moderators got to them. Somebody put up some ridiculous post about, everybody, I have an herbal medical doctor who can save you. Not anymore. So yeah, somebody told me yesterday, one of you TikTokers told me yesterday that I can block the Russian flag, that I can add flags to my moderation keyboard. I've been blocking like keywords that the Russians use, this kind of stuff, but I put in the Russian flag and had no idea. Well, you'll notice, I think I'm right. Have there been any Russian flags on TikTok in the comments today? I think not. I was very excited about that. I was like, yes, because I haven't banned too many words in the TikTok lives, but I literally only banned like 3 or 4 words just because, like I said, they're words the Russians use, but they always come in with their little Russian flag. Not anymore. So that made me, whoever mentioned that in the comments, you made my day. These are the small little things during wartime that at least lift your spirits a little bit, So the final 2 stories. Oh, this was actually really good too. A Russian anti-war protester in St. Petersburg. Now, I'm going to step back and say, you may have heard how, so the Russians are coming up with unique ways to protest. Like one woman said, I can't even say, you're not even allowed to say 2 words about the war. And she goes, watch. And she's in Red Square, the big famous square in Moscow. And she holds up a sign that literally in Russian says 2 words. The police come and arrest her. I mean, point made, right? Another one is holding up a sign with nothing on it. They arrest her. Well, this one is a guy in St. Petersburg, Russia. And he had a really ingenious idea. And they arrested him. Gave him like a 30,000 ruble fine, which I had Googled might be $370, I think, something like that. Although, keep in mind, it might be a lot more there, because you're thinking of the amount of money we make. They make a lot less money than us. So, nonetheless, he goes on the street and he holds up a sign. And on the sign, he's got a speech by Vladimir Putin and a quote. Putin made the speech last year during the World War II, celebrations. So I'm going to guess May 9th of last year. And it's a speech by Putin about the end of World War II, and it's a speech that's anti-war. So he took out a big anti-war quote from Vladimir Putin, put it on a sign, stood up and held it up, and they arrested him for disrespecting the troops. Incredible. Brilliant of the guy, but absolutely incredible. So the final thing was just interesting. I'm going to read you 2 paragraphs from the New York Times because I thought they were interesting regarding where things are now in terms of where the war is going and also what Ukraine's needs are, because one of the folks on YouTube the other day had asked what Ukraine needed in terms of weapons. Have things changed? And this is right on point. So Western officials increasingly recognize that the war is likely to be a protracted conflict between 2 large armies, as neither side shows signs of wanting to give up the fight. That means that the kinds of arms Ukraine needs is changing. Kyiv's commanders now need better air defense systems and longer-range weapons than they currently have to defend the bulk of the Ukrainian army in the country's east, right? The east is where the fighting is going to be now. So far, the Biden administration has not been willing to provide weapons that would allow Ukraine to strike deep into Russia, though some experts say that damaging Russian military airfields would improve Ukraine's chances of withstanding a renewed offense. Now, what I had heard this morning was that the Biden administration is very worried about Ukraine hitting inside Russia at all because they think it's an escalation, and Russia could then say, oh, you're giving them weapons and they attacked us. Again, this just strikes me as totally bogus. First of all, the Russians invaded Ukraine, but the Ukrainians can't invade Russia. That's an escalation. The Russians, this happened last week. Remember, the Russians bombed an oil depot in Ukraine, in the town of Lviv, Western Ukraine, because Biden was across the border and they wanted to be jerks and bomb, when he was there. They can do that. But like 5 days later, when Ukraine bombs an oil depot in Russia, that's an escalation. It just, in this case too, I couldn't believe this, that, the Biden administration is saying it's not just an escalation, but they could blame us because we're giving you weapons. I mean, at this point, Vladimir Putin knows we're giving Ukraine weapons. He knows we're giving them weapons. He knows that a lot of Russian troops are dying because of weapons that NATO and the U.S. gave them. He knows that. I was mentioning the other day about how this reminds me of like consulting clients where they don't really let you do your job, and they always want, like, you give them a proposal and they go, let's do half of it. And you're like, okay, but half the proposal isn't going to actually do it. And this is sort of the same thing. We want to help Ukraine, but we don't want to help them too much because Russia might get mad. So let's give them a lot of weapons, but maybe not exactly weapons they need. Let's give them less effective weapons. And it just, God, but my favorite is Russia's going to blame us. dude, Russia's going to blame us anyway. First of all, Russia's going to blame you even if you do nothing. We know that. It's not like you can do anything to not get blamed by Russia. Russia's blaming the Ukrainians for the human rights massacres that Russia's doing. So but it just annoys me. I just think there is some kind of weird reticence on our part where we just let Putin psych us out. And I don't get it. And the whole nuclear war thing, yeah, we got nukes too. Seriously. I mean, and I don't mean, what I mean by that is Putin knows it and the Russians know it. They know we've got nukes. They can't use nukes. I mean, we're going to use them back. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But we somehow let him get in our head and psych us out. So, all right, that is the end of the news segment. I went a little long, but it was I was shocked as to how much news there was actually since we had just started. Don't worry, we're not ending. But I was surprised how much news there was since last night. That was surprising. Sometimes I don't like doing these this early because it feels like, we can't. But it's a nice day out today, as you may be able to see on my balcony. And I also want to take the dog out later and start doing my taxes, but we'll do that later. So let's jump into the questions. As I said, submit your questions on TikTok via that interact function, or at least on my end, it says interact. First comment, at least by Andrew Mason on YouTube is, we have the most powerful military in the world, but without action, countries are emboldened to take military action knowing that NATO will do nothing. Well, that's the thing. And I mean, just because you have a big military doesn't mean you should use it. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But it bothers me that we keep sending Putin these messages that we're afraid of him. Oh, we don't want to escalate. If we escalate too far, he's going to go nuclear. It's going to be World War III. He's going to get mad. If we give them too many weapons, if we give him MiG fighter jets, he's going to get angry. Why don't we let Putin worry about getting us angry for once? I mean, it's so annoying. So Harvey Kittle. Harvey, what do you think of British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's surprise visit to Kyiv today? I actually started talking about that, confirming the Brits will send armored vehicles and, quote, will be sending $100 million in additional military aid shortly. Good. Excellent. Probably 100 million pounds. I'm guessing, which way does that go? $150 million probably, I'm guessing. I know whenever you hear it in pounds, it's always worse than you think as an American. So, I guess 150 million in dollars in military. No, that's great. I said at the beginning of the show, Prime Minister Boris Johnson of the UK did a surprise visit to Ukraine today. He met with President Zelensky. They put out a photo and all of that. The details may finally be coming out because as of literally checking before I came on with you guys, there was still no information about what they talked about, like anything agreed to, whatever. So it sounds like Johnson is upping the military aid, which is great. Actually, and that's typically the kind of thing you do. If you were going to have this kind of a meeting, you typically would want something to come out of it, or there's no point in having it. Because frankly, it makes you almost look a little weak. Like if you only went as a head of state, especially now in a time of war, just to say, hey, we're rooting for you, it's weak. So you kind of want to come and say, I'm announcing a new package of blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's great. What I think is good about it, I was telling folks earlier, certainly the public relations aspect is nice. It's nice too, because it's kind of sending a message that, we're no longer afraid of, Putin bombing Kyiv, that in other words, haha, you lost, business as usual in Kyiv. But it also is good for Johnson. Johnson has been outspoken in sort of trying to push Europe to be stronger in its support of Ukraine, and having that personal connection helps. Having the two leaders meet, get to know each other, hopefully hit it off. But if they hit it off, that kind of a connection, it just helps a lot more in politics. So it means Johnson could even do more potentially for Ukraine if he hit it off with Zelensky. So it's good. It's very good. Where do I source my info? From everywhere. Actually, a lot of it I tell you guys. I usually tell you stuff is from the New York Times or CNN or General Hertling I see on TV, lots of different things. I don't know. Wiley fam maybe says, how long can Russia keep financing this? That's the thing that I've seen sort of differing things on. I think back to the Cold War and how we kept saying the Russian economy was going to explode and we were going to spend them to death. And it went on for 70 years. They seem to be very good at just making people work, and even if there's no money. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. At the same time, we keep doing things to try to take money away from the economy so they can't spend it on the war, like freezing the assets in the bank, like making them use their own money now in rubles to pay their sovereign debt. Currently, we were still letting them take out dollars. Now we're not. Well, the money they'd have to use from back home, actually not rubles. Let me strike that. They cannot use rubles. They have to use their own dollar currency reserves. So in other words, money they saved in a big mammoth piggy bank back in Moscow, we're making them spend that money instead to pay off their debt so that they have less money to spend on the war. So we're doing things to try to make the financing harder. I don't know the economy enough in Russia to know, like, could they just do this for years? I don't know. I don't know. Colonel Mustard says, what does it mean for Ukraine to be joining the EU? I mean, it's huge economically. It's huge economically. It's symbolic. Well, it's not, I mean, besides the economics. I mean, it's economics. By joining the EU, they would be part of the European Union. In terms of economics, they would be treated like any other American state, for example. It would be like becoming an American state for economic purposes. Meaning, when I travel around America, I don't need a passport. I need a driver's license to show an ID. At one point, I don't even think we had, before 9/11, I don't even think we needed IDs to fly. I don't think so. But now you need your driver's license, but that's it, right? You don't need visas. You don't need, if you want to buy and sell goods, you can sell things across the country. I mean, it's in one internal system economically with one internal set of rules about how products have to be labeled, things like that. The same thing happens if Ukraine joins the European Union. They'll be able to sell their goods internally without tariffs, I'm assuming, right? Because it's one market. It is as if they're joining Europe as a country, and within Europe, one big country where they can trade with each other and do all sorts of things that as an outsider cost you a lot more money. And you can work, you can go and work in other European countries. I mean, it's like becoming part of Europe, at least for the economic aspect. So it's hugely important. And it's also symbolically important. And it ties Ukraine to Europe and starts to integrate it more with Europe. I mean, it is European, but having people be able to work back and forth freely, and the economies and businesses go back and forth, you just tie Ukraine even closer to the rest of Europe, which Russia would not like, but would be good for Ukraine's, I think, identity and economy as things go on. All right. Let me see. I'm looking for a question on YouTube because you guys always crack me up. The YouTubers are always, okay, here we go. I said the YouTubers are always chatting amongst yourselves, so I don't always have questions. So I Am Me asks on YouTube, how many innocent civilians do we have to learn have been killed before we decide Russia has gone too far? Mariupol is claiming over 5,000 civilians have likely perished. Death is death. Yeah. No, I mean, the problem, and this isn't totally wrong. I mean, the concern, I saw that, Panda, thank you. The concern is that if we start fighting, with troops going after Putin, that, what happens next after that? That we actually get drawn into a fighting war. American troops have to go over, and Americans aren't going to stand for that. What bothers me is I feel like, especially after Bucha last week, the town that we found, they just killed dozens of people, if not hundreds of people, summarily executed people, tied their hands behind their back and then shot them in the head, total war crimes. Once we found that out, I kind of felt like, enough. Can we stop with we're going to do a little bit more sanctions, and then in 3 weeks, we're going to do a little bit more sanctions, or now we're going to give Ukraine one S-300 anti-aircraft weapon system, which is great. I looked into it. Ukraine has 100. So one is nice. It's not exactly earth-shattering, but it's nice when they have 100 already. They could use more than one. It was a big philosophical change for NATO to give that weapon, because it was one of the weapons we didn't want to give before. We're giving now. But even that we're playing this slow motion game of, maybe now we'll give them a little bit more, and maybe in a week we'll give them even a better weapon. And all the while, this war is dragging on, and we're almost helping it drag on. Not almost, we are helping it drag on. I don't think that's the intent, but Jesus, it's just, no, it's very, I agree with you. It's been frustrating to me, and what I'm glad about at least is I'm seeing more American TV commentators saying the same thing. I saw one this morning on CNN saying, like, really? More sanctions? Like, why do we even have more sanctions that we can do? He's like, why aren't we just doing the sanctions? Like, do everything we can. Stop with this. Ooh, if he does one more thing, we'll do one more thing. It feels silly at this point. And especially on the weapons front. But again, this all goes back to this BS about, oh, if we make Putin mad, Putin will get angry. You won't like him when he's angry. Well, why don't we get angry for once? He's pushing us around. I mean, again, it's not a matter of being pushed around, but meaning he's psyching us out. And that's what I don't like. It's a psychological game and he's winning and I don't like it. Somebody said, thank you, Poland, for helping Ukraine. Very true. Poland has been doing a crazy amount, including taking in, God, I thought it was like over 1 million Ukrainian refugees. Just amazing. Peace talks have been happening. Somebody asks on IDKG asks on TikTok. Peace talks were happening, of course, but nothing right now. And the Russia's war crimes have not helped. No, nothing's going on with the peace talks right now. There is no Russian casualty update. The U.S. has not been putting one out. Big Will Paul asks after Kremlin put out, Moscow puts out a statement the other day saying that there have been significant losses, which was surprising, right? That they said that in Ukraine and that the numbers are a tragedy. So in other words, preparing people back home going, things are pretty bad. Now, what was significant about that is that the fact that they're saying it means they feel they can't hide it anymore. And I told you at the beginning of the show about how the intercepted communications of Russians calling back home show that the soldiers are talking about how everybody around them is dying in their unit. And the mom back home was saying, oh my God, so-and-so's husband was killed, so-and-so's husband, so-and-so's son. So there's so many people getting killed that the Russians can't really hide it anymore back home. Now, the thing is, NATO, I did not see any, my allergies going because we finally have a good day. I did not see any update beyond the 7,500 to 15,000 Russian troops dead, which is what they said two weeks ago. Yeah. So, it's got to be a lot higher, obviously, but we just haven't seen that. Tiffany Marl, Marie, sorry, Marl. Without my glasses, you almost became Tiffany Marl. Tiffany Marie, what happens to a country that goes into default? Could Ukraine use money from confiscated Russian assets to rebuild? That's interesting. Two different questions. One is default. I was asking around about this, and if Russia defaults on its debt, it's like you or me defaulting in essence, like, the bank forecloses on you, so to speak. I mean, what this means is Russia's credit rating would go to hell. If Russia tried to borrow any more money, looking at the interesting little, I'll put a thing on that maybe to save it if I can. Sorry, somebody had an interesting question. If Russia tries to go to any more banks, either, and mind you, not every bank has been, again, most banks have been sanctioned, not every bank, not everything. Again, like, why hasn't every bank just been cut off? Who knows? But if they go to a bank, the bank can charge them a crazy interest rate because their credit rating will have dropped. Like you, if your credit rating drops and is really low, banks may not even give you money. And if they do, they're going to ask for a crazy interest rate because they don't trust you. So that's one big problem. Eventually they've got to pay because after the war too, they're going to try to get more money. Good luck. What is interesting, your second half of your question, could Ukraine use the money confiscated Russian assets to rebuild? If the money is actually confiscated, what I mean by that is a lot of the Russian money has been frozen. The question becomes, I think we'd have to literally go to court. I'm thinking of Iran and how we had frozen Iran's assets with the revolution in 1979 when they took our embassy hostage. And I remember some of those assets. Now, the thing is, whether this was because of a treaty with them, I don't know, an agreement, but some of the assets via court order, I think, got paid to some of the victims, some of the hostages. But what I don't know is whether by treaty we had to agree to do that or whether the court order was enough to take some of the seized assets and give it to the victims. So you'd have to see, one, have the assets truly been taken? And what I mean is frozen is one thing, taken is another. For example, the oligarchs are frozen, but they're trying to prove the oligarchs were part of this criminal action, and then we can actually take the oligarchs' money and not give it back. So I don't know with the Russian state how that works, like whether you need a legal opinion that says, yes, they committed war crimes, we will now take the money for the victims. I just don't know. I can't even pronounce that. Trirobitai. There's something I'm missing there. John, did the CNN report of USA and Poland troops doing maneuvers near the border mean more in terms of going into Ukraine or just reminding Putin we're here and ready? I think it's just reminding Putin. No. It's just reminding Putin. It's trying to do, kind of in your face stuff, going, we're here, keep an eye on us. Yeah. And and it's not a bad idea of having maneuvers anyway. Because we may have to fight together, right? So it's the militaries need to learn how to work together or continue learning, because I'm sure we've already learned before, how to work together to integrate. So it's almost as a good freshener for the troops that isn't a bad idea since things are getting more heated. Let me look for I know. Well, it's funny that I think it was Natalia or somebody else said it's funny how Americans say foreign words. It's weird because in English, obviously we tend to say things how you'd say them in English. Also, it can be a bit snooty. In American English, at least, it can be a bit snooty to say things the way they're supposed to be pronounced. I speak French, which always causes a problem when I'm buying French food because, I will not say croissant if I go into a store. I will never say that in American English. I might say, croissants? I think I call them croissants because that's the word we use in English, even though I know it's croissant. Croissants. I won't say croissant. I'd say, if I go into a French bakery, I might say croissant in America. Maybe, but because they're French and I know the word and I feel like I'm almost being rude. But otherwise, it's snotty. I don't like it. One thing Americans do, interesting thing here though, one thing Americans do is there's this thing about pronouncing Latin names, like Latin American names and things in Spanish, in English. So you'd say, this is Maria Goches from CNN. And it always kind of cracks me up because it's the only language that they'll do it for. I don't get out there and say, I'm John Aravosis. My name in Greek. The correct name to say my name is Aravosis. It's not Aravosis. But I say Aravosis. So no, Americans generally speaking, yeah. And forget, I find Ukraine doubly hard, Ukrainian, because I've studied Russian, only for a year, but it's enough to actually study it. I certainly can pronounce it. And Ukrainian, it's pronounced a little differently. So that even though I can look at it in Cyrillic and pronounce it the way it might be in Russian, it's not necessarily that way in Ukrainian. So that's been messing me up too. Hello, I learned the other day I know it's privyet in Russian, but it's like privit or privut. One of those in Ukrainian, little funny things like that. It's anyway. So yes, but yeah, we pronounce things funny, but I guess everyone does around the world. Andrew Mason asks on YouTube, what is the relationship between the Russian Orthodox Church and the rest of the Orthodox churches? That's a mom question. Will its support of the war irreparably harm the relationship? It's been harmed, that's for sure, and I'm glad. The Russian Orthodox Church, so not to give you because I also couldn't give you the huge lesson on Orthodoxy, but I'm Greek, so I'm Greek Orthodox. Russians are Russian Orthodox. Ukrainians kind of fall in this funny zone. Eastern Orthodox, they would consider they usually were lumped in with the Russians, but not anymore. Many of us have different churches as part of the Eastern Orthodox faith. So we are Greek Orthodox. We've got a head of our church. But it's still our common head of the church. I believe I'm pretty sure the way it works is all of our head of our church is in Constantinople, in Turkey, Istanbul, we say Constantinople, but our individual churches are still kind of in charge of themselves. So we certainly, the Russian church doesn't tell us what to do. We do all our services in Greek and blah, 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 blah. And I know in Ukraine, especially, there have been problems because the Russian church is basically a puppet of Putin. Horrible. And they were during communist times too. Just a puppet of the government. And this goof, the head of the church, came out and gave this horrific speech about how the war was justified because of all the liberal values from the West and homosexuality and, transgender people and all this crazy stuff. And of course, all these bad things from the West because this is my favorite too, is they never existed in Russia until the West imported them. It's sure, no problem. Have you seen your propaganda minister, Mr. Kislyev? Take a look at that guy in videos someday and get back to me. But in any case, yeah. So the Ukrainians have been trying to break away. They kind of did break away, a lot of the churches, from the Russian church because they all kind of consider themselves together. It's a long story, but they're breaking away. Yeah. The Ukrainian one for sure. That relationship, I think, is dead. The rest of us, who knows? For the other churches. But again, I had a minor, I'm not very religious anyway. I had a minor affinity with people who were Russian Orthodox because we're kind of the same faith, but I never thought of them as my brothers or anything. It's certainly less of a connection now, I would think now. TikTok question. Is Germany stopping more tanks? Lucy Saint says, why is Germany stopping the tanks? Tell me Germany isn't stopping tanks that were promised. Tell me, please. They better not be, so help me God. I've not seen that they were. You mean like the T-72s that we're going over? I hope to God Germany isn't stopping them, so help me God. Good question. I mean, Juskali? Only because your name looks a little bit French, like Juskali asks, can Ukrainian forces break the siege on Mariupol? Well, I mean, the thing is, it's been 6 weeks now. And what is interesting, in a way, what's more interesting than can the Ukrainians break it is why haven't the Russians been able to take over Mariupol in the 6 weeks that they've been attacking? You still not only have Ukrainian troops inside Mariupol who are fighting valiantly and well, but you also have the Ukrainian troops are still being resupplied. So they're still being resupplied like there's a supply line going back to the rest of Ukraine. So the Russians haven't even been able to surround Mariupol and stop anything from going in and out. It's crazy. And yet another sign, some of the analysts are saying that they don't think Russia's going to have a lot of luck with this next phase of the battle in eastern Ukraine because they can't even get Mariupol under control. I asked Google yesterday. Pretty sure Google said Mariupol was like 450,000 population. It's the 10th largest city in Ukraine. So even by Ukraine standards, it's not very big. And goddamn Germany. Okay, I'll have to look. Sorry, I swore. I know I can't supposed to do that. Germany tanks. I'm going to look it up once we did. I did not see it as any of the big stories this morning. I wonder if it just happened. What a bunch of jerks. Oh, God. The tanks they want to give apparently were stripped and not combat ready. So help me, God. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look. I'll certainly do a TikTok on it. I've got to look into it first. I just hadn't heard of that. God damn these people. 430,000. Yep. I was close. I said 450,000. You saw it yesterday. Okay. Yeah, no, I've not seen it. It hasn't been big in the news here, and I don't know why, but it hasn't been. Let me look for another TikTok question. Boom. I mean, that's I'm going to bring this up anyway, even though this is a tough one. Mrs. Mama Jones asks on TikTok, in your opinion, what will it take to stop Putin? I mean, there's a couple questions there. What will it take to win the war in Ukraine or to end it well? And what will it take to actually, defeat Putin, right? They're kind of two different things. I mean, the war can end and Putin could still be in power. And that's really dangerous, right? I mean, because clearly he's a warmonger and a dangerous one willing to kill civilians. The more immediate question is, what will it take to win in Ukraine? And, the Ukrainians are doing a damn good job. But what it would take would us stop playing games and give them the weapons they need and stop playing games. Give them the damn tanks. I mean, my God, for 10 years, we gave the Afghanis weapons to kill the Russians. 10 years we did it. And we didn't have a nuclear war. We're giving them weapons now that they're shooting down Russian troops with and killing Russian troops with. The Javelin anti-tank missiles are destroying Russian tanks. They're killing people every day, Russians every day, that we're responsible for. But somehow that's not going to anger Putin. But if they have a better tank to kill Russians, then Putin will get upset. I think it almost makes me think, here's what it almost makes me think, and this is really bad. It makes me think that the standard for what is too good of a weapon is a weapon that will actually help Ukraine win. In other words, right now it's kind of a stalemate almost, a weapon that will push it so that Ukraine, push the balance more towards Ukraine's side. And that would be really good tanks. right? That would have been the fighter jets. And it almost makes me think that that's what it's not, is the weapon defensive, offensive, whatever. It's we want to help. This is what I was telling you at the beginning. Remember I said like it's having a client who's afraid to do things. So the client only wants you to do half. And you're like, well, if we do, it's almost like cancer. If we take out half the tumor, it's not really going to help you. And it's sort of the same thing here, that we're afraid to do anything that really makes a difference because then Russia will get angry. So we give them stuff that kind of makes a difference. And then it means we have a stalemate. It's offensive to me. It's offensive to me. No, we need to get them the real weapons. Putin, honestly, he needs to be beaten, seriously beaten in Ukraine so that he loses harshly. And then maybe somebody will overthrow him. You know, whether it's the intelligence services, maybe even the people rise up. But Russia has a history of when they lose big wars, the military kind of rises up and goes no more, you know, and they basically take down the leaders. So that would be nice. I don't do pronouns, by the way. We can talk about that at the end. I find pronouns offensive and oppressive. So we can talk about that. I will give you a teaser if you remember to bring it up during our friendly Q&A at the end that has nothing to do with politics. It's just us talking. But asking someone's pronouns is akin to asking them if they're gay or not. And you would never do that. And you would never go around the room and say, okay, we're in a meeting. Everybody please state whether you're gay or straight or trans. I mean, I'm gay. I would still be like, it's none of your business. I think that's what pronouns do, because by doing the pronoun thing, at the very least, you're asking people if they're trans. And I think it's offensive as hell to put somebody on the spot who doesn't want to come out to either lie or... Anyway, that's my pronoun speech, but I've thought about this a lot. So another question on YouTube after my quick dalliance with pronouns. Yeah, I mean, you know, I was watching Smirconish too. I just don't like Smirconish's polls because they're online polls, and you know, you can't really. An EMP apocalypse? You mean like electromagnetic pulse? There was that TV show about that. It's funny. Jules is asking, what do you think about the possibility of an EMP, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, apocalypse? I assume he means electromagnetic pulse apocalypse, because if you set off a nuclear weapon in the atmosphere, like over a city or something, it'll knock out all the electronics in that city. Kind of like a UFO. You know, the UFOs come and your car stops, that kind of stuff. It actually kills all the electronics. It doesn't just knock them out. I'm not sure you can turn them back on again. And there was a sci-fi show I was watching at one point about that, how like all the power in the world got turned off. And unfortunately, it was canceled after one season. It was an okay show. It wasn't a great show. But yeah, I will say that is one of there's a lot of scary things about nuclear weapons, obviously, but one of the scary things is that too, that all of a sudden thank you for that, imagine all technology just stopping, like everything. I mean, anything technological, right? So your phone, your computer, a lot of my fridge would stop. It's probably, the motherboard would probably get fried. I mean, think of just all the technological things we have, really scary. The elevator would stop working. If you've got an electronic door lock, would it work? I don't know. Anyway, very scary. But let's look for another TikTok question. If I've forgotten anybody, let me know over there. TikTok. I always have to go and scroll a separate screen here. Supposedly, Ilogina, something like that, says the Russian soldiers joining Ukraine against Russia. Supposedly there's a unit the Ukrainians have formed. They put out pictures of like the insignia and everything else of Russian troops who are either prisoners of war or surrendered, but basically have indicated they want to fight for Ukraine. And they formed a unit. I mean, kind of crazy. People have been saying in the comments on TikTok, and I agree, I'd be a little nervous about trusting them, but at the same time, very interesting, so I hope it's true. I mean, I saw the report, but I hope it's true. Oh, that's funny. Sorry, but Chloe Reitherman says there's actually a podcast about the issue of the electromagnetic pulse taking everything out. It's called Blackout. It's about the grid, the electrical grid going down, if anyone's interested. Oh, very interesting. Okay, did not know that. Boom, Q&A. Actually, I've got to write my note. I'm also writing down mom. So I remember to call mom afterwards, because there's always mom's pretty good about not calling back twice. Another TikTok question. This could last. God knows how long this is going to last. I mean, seriously, though, it could last another month. It could last 5 years. Finland does look like they're closer to joining NATO. It does look like they're getting closer, which I think would be a good thing. Well, it's funny. YouTube, I don't know if this is what you were getting at, but YouTube, oh, you're double dipping questions on both services, tree guy. Cute. But YouTube blocked the Russian parliament channel today, and the Russians got upset. But a number of observers were not really thrilled from the West because they said they were using this to actually follow what was going on in Russia. And they found it really useful to be able to watch the Russian parliament and stuff. So, Russia's version of C-SPAN, basically. So it was kind of an interesting observation where they weren't quite sure, the Russia observers in our country, they weren't quite sure that was the smart thing to do by YouTube. I mean, my gut initially went yay, because why not? But it is an interesting question. Sometimes when you cut this stuff off, is it having the desired effect? And Carrie, I agree with you, but one should never ask. But we can talk about that more in the end. As always, the YouTubers are all chatting amongst yourselves, which I adore. But let me just see a comment. Pam B. Boris Johnson said the West will not be able to meet all of the weaponry requirements submitted by Ukraine because it would not be appropriate to supply some of that equipment to Kyiv. Exactly. It would not be appropriate. Yes, it would not be appropriate to actually help Ukraine win and stop a genocidal dictator who's a war criminal. And this is actually the problem too, is that you get the issue of, we keep talking about, I've got to pull up a TikTok question as we talk here, but we keep talking about how, Putin's a madman. He's a war criminal. They're hell-bent on killing all the Ukrainians, blah, blah, blah. But we don't want to do that much to help stop him, because he might get angry, and you're just like, okay, which one is it? And I mean, on the he might get angry front, we did have what's his name in World War II. Nobody seemed terribly afraid of making him angry. We kind of recognized it for what it is, and that was when we didn't even know about the stuff he was doing to the Jews and the others in the concentration camps. That was just knowing he was invading other countries, and we were like, stop the guy, even though he'll get angry. Anyway, I get frustrated by the he'll get angry garbage. Is it possible Japan will try to take the Kuril Islands, says Abul Sanda? The Kuril Islands are this disputed islands that Russia kind of stole from Japan. Maybe I shouldn't say kind of. Stole from Japan at the end of World War II. Japan lately has been making noise about it, I think, as an effort just to rile Russia up. And I think the U.S. probably put Japan up to it just to make Russia scared because, okay, Russia's 11 time zones. Most of their best troops and their ready troops have been moved to the West to deal with Ukraine, which means you've got Russian troops spread out, but their best troops are all in the West now. So why not cause a little trouble in the East? So like the Kurils, which are like southeastern Russia or southeastern whatever, Asia, well, not Southeast Asia, but anyway, north of Japan. Find a map. North of Japan, you've got that kind of down here. You've got Alaska up here. I said, why don't we move a bunch of troops to Alaska just to freak the Russians out? In other words, so they've got to keep some of their good forces and some of their attention on the East just to keep them busy, to make them a little less ready to fight. But I don't think Japan's going to try to take them right now. Although, with Russia seeming weak, who knows? It's not good. I mean, Russia looks like their military is a paper tiger right now, Putin could be hiding. We were talking about that yesterday. It's true. You used to see him more, and all of a sudden the last week or so, we're not seeing him at all, which is interesting. Well, Russian human rights have always been terrible, but they're worse now. Yeah. I mean, Russia went from being, an authoritarian state or autocratic state, I should say autocratic state, to being a dictatorship again. They're back to the Soviet days now. So the human rights situation is horrific now. Correct. Noin now says, what's the new general like? I'd mentioned that this new Russian general was taking over for all the war in Ukraine because they didn't actually have one general in charge of the war. It was idiotic. And now they've appointed the senior general. You were mentioning in the comment, and that's what I'd read too, that this is the general who was in charge in Syria. So I guess the question is whether you think things went well in Syria or whatever, but clearly they did the atrocities. They used chemical weapons. It was all sorts of horrible things the Russians did in Syria. And this was a guy who was okay with it, although frankly, it seems like a lot of the Russians are okay with these things. So I don't know anything else about the guy other than that the fact that he was the Syria guy is troubling, but also the fact that Russia finally smartened up and said, hey, maybe rather than having 20 generals in charge of the war, we have one. Who knows? Let's hope that also, I would say, I hope that jumbling this up makes it harder, though, because even though now one guy's in charge, you have 20 guys who were in charge and they were used to being in charge. And now somebody over their head is saying, no, I'm in charge. And you're going to have a bit of that going on, that tension, which I hope makes things harder for Russia. But in the end, it's way smarter, according to the experts, and me too. Well, this is funny. I am me on TikTok, on YouTube asks, did you watch the Sky News interview with the Putin spokesman? It is historic. No. It's funny. I brought it. I was bringing your question up because what I did see, which is his spokesman is Dmitry Peskov, and a number of the military people are going after him, Peskov, and they were doing it on, I don't know if it was Telegram or where it was, but no, they were doing it in some kind of military social media thing where they were really going after Peskov and saying, he's a traitor, he's trying to negotiate peace and all this kind of stuff, and just very interesting intrigue because he's Putin's spokesman. And that the military at least thinks he's too much of a dove. He's too soft. And maybe they're afraid he's influencing Putin or whatever. But I didn't see the interview. I'll have to see. Sky News. Sky News tends to be pretty bad, though. Let me know. But did they actually do something real rather than just, just, what is this? You know what I mean? Because they're terrible. Sky News can be really not pro-Putin, but kind of bad. Let me see, Jules on Deutsche Welle. Germany's defense minister said there's hardly any possibility left to supply Ukraine with weapons from the German military arsenal. Yeah, there we go. There's the Germany we know and love. There you go. No, I love Germany, but that is, from an American's perspective, that is so European. Having said that, it's also so Joe Biden of late too. And I've been, my Democratic friends are upset with me when I say it on Twitter, but Biden's done an amazing job pulling the allies together, supporting Ukraine, but he's bought into this, oh my God, don't make Putin angry thing. And yeah, there's hardly any possibility left to supply Ukraine with weapons. That's fine, Germany. Then just cut off your oil and your natural gas and we'll make the day of it. No, that stuff just pisses me off. There is some, yeah. By the way, on TikTok, Timothy LaCroix says, is there any fear of weapons technology transfer to Russia? Yes. I forget what it was. They were talking about an F-22, which I don't know what an F-22 is. No, that's not I was thinking the Warthog, the A-10's the Warthog. I don't know what an F-22 is, but they were saying like an F-22, Russia would love to get their hands on that technology. And there was some other technology too they were talking about. So there is some of that concern that there are some weapons we wouldn't give Ukraine because we don't want the Russians to shoot it down or something, and then they have access to it. So that is true. But again, I don't think that's what's going on. What's going on is we don't want to make Putin angry. That's what's going on. We've made that clear repeatedly. All right, I'm going to do like another 2 question, guys, and then we're going to go into cash zone because we'll be doing an hour 15, and I want to take the dog out and do at least start my taxes. Oops, sorry, scroll down. TikTok. Yeah, it's funny. Nubia Pisano asks, what is in eastern Ukraine that Russia wants? There's some, I remember there's like some energy and stuff, or was it energy? I'm forgetting, but that's not it. Everything I've been reading on this, it's not the resources. God, I'm trying to think, what was the actual, historically, Russia doesn't look at, Putin especially doesn't look at Ukraine as even being real. Right. There was some aspect of, I think, Eastern Ukraine, there was some embarrassment aspect too. I'm forgetting what it is now, but it's not strategic in that sense. They don't believe Ukraine exists as a country. They think it's Russian. And it's, I guess, one big sort of, when you look at the dissolution of the Soviet Union, losing Ukraine is one of the biggest no-nos to them, that they lost it. It's why they took back Crimea, which does have an important port as well they wanted, but they want to grab they've got it. They want to grab that land and then the East and just make it part of Russia, just as from everything I've read as just, I don't want to say reconstituting the USSR, but kind of, yeah. I mean, which somebody just mentioned on TikTok. It's kind of that. It's we lost too much. Let's get it back and let's start with Ukraine. But what I read was it wasn't as if there were specific things like coal or oil or natural gas that like specifically he wanted in Eastern Ukraine. It wasn't that. It wasn't. It was much more of a philosophical thing. Yeah, F-35. Well, no, but I don't. No, correct, Andrew. Sorry, Andrew Mason just mentioned really quick. But for some reason they mentioned the F-22, and maybe that's why they mentioned it. Because they mentioned the F-22 as a weapon we wouldn't give because the Russians would love to have access to it, whatever. So, but I think that's the context. So that was what they said, but it makes sense. But that is a really, if what you guys are saying is true, that we don't even give it to the Allies, then that's a really bad example. Because if we wouldn't even give it to the Allies, obviously we wouldn't give it to the Ukrainians. What we're talking about is weapons we would give to Allies, would we give to Ukraine? That's the question. And whether there's any NATO weapons that would help them a lot, that wouldn't necessarily be such a wonderful asset for Russia to get their hands on, right? Let me see if there's anything else here. Like I said, I'm going to do one more question. Thank you, Timothy, for that. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so IME responded to the Sky News interview with the Kremlin spokesman Peskov, saying that they did an excellent job of exposing Putin's lies, and Peskov could not come up with anything to recover. It was phenomenal. Oh, that's good. Oh, I will look for that. Yeah, no, because Sky News gets a rep sometimes. Aren't they a Murdoch one? Because like they were posting some stuff that had people a little ticked off recently. That's good then. No, some of the British news people amaze me because they're much more obnoxious in a good way than our people are. They remind me of the Irish. Oh my God. There was an Irish reporter I remember. I think she did it to Trump. She was just like, boom, in a way that we all were like, oh my God, like reporters don't do this kind of thing. It was very interesting. All right, guys, unless I missed anything in the super chat, we're going to hang, but I'm going to call it quits in terms of more Ukraine war questions. We've been going an hour and 17 minutes. All right, Micah Boy did ask one more super chat question, which I promised I will do those. Otherwise, we're going to finish and then hang out a little bit. If Russia loses the war and the government rises up and throws out, okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. So if Russia loses the war and the rest of the government rises up and throws Putin out and allows the UN the war, would they do the previous war as well? I'm not totally sure what you mean. Do you want to write that again? I mean, you don't have to spend money on it. Just write. And the government rises up and throws out Putin and allows the UN to intervene. Would they do the previous war as well? I'm not sure what you mean. Are you saying, for example, if the UN were to intervene or there was some kind of thing, would we talk about Crimea being given back to Ukraine? Because in the previous war, so to speak, 2014, Russia stole Crimea as well. Right off. I mean, I'm going to hang anyway, like we said. No more questions. I'm going to get that question off of TikTok. Thank you, guys. But as I said, we hang for about 10 more minutes at least and just talk about other stuff. But because Mika or Micah had done the super chat question, feel free to write again exactly what you mean, and I'll respond again. But anyway, guys, let's just hang out. Thanks for coming. I'm tired today. I don't know why. Okay, so Elmo has a quick little point to make. I know Boris Johnson has been doing great things for Ukraine, but we can chat about his wild hair. It looks like a madman. There's something. What is it with you English people with your hair? There's something with a certain class of English people, and guys, it's the snotty class. It's not working class, where they think it's cool to like mess their hair up. And I saw like some guy writing for the Financial Times or The Economist or something who did this. His photo was just horrific. He was like some cute guy in his 20s who intentionally did his hair. And Johnson, it's like the thing that bothers me is I get that it's something in England, but to the rest of the world, you look like an idiot. I mean, literally, you look like someone who said, I don't care. And I'm going to make my hair look like I just woke up because it's cool. Because it shows how much I don't care about my hair that I spend an hour making it look like I just woke up. I just think it's It's pretentious. It's snooty. It's obnoxious. It's also ugly. No, it really, you can tell. I've been thinking a lot about this. It drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely crazy. Sasha is, she's been on, I think she's still on the, let me go see. I think she's still on the couch. Because remember I told you she was on the couch kind of sleeping? No. Oh, I'm going to let her, that's right. She went back there. I'm going to let her be at the moment only because she's on her little bed by the TV. And I feel bad interrupting her. She looks like she's well, you can see it on TikTok. The red thing is there we go. The red thing on the bottom is where her, there we go, for YouTube. Thing back there is the red sheet on her bed. But she's kind of resting. So I don't want to, I always feel bad when she's actually asleep, getting her up. This is the way that our dogs own us. That you literally feel guilty getting the dog up to waking the dog up to show people. And yeah, Timothy, thank you for that. I think I did thank you for that. Oh, I missed a question. Okay, be kind. Says I missed a question. Ruh-roh. Oh, Micah. Yeah. So to investigate any of the previous wars that Putin did. First of all, it depends what the UN can really do. I mean, the UN, I'm not a big fan of the UN having worked there. The UN can send in peacekeepers, which is nice. Beyond that, I'm not sure the UN can really help. So I don't know the UN would really do much after this war. I think it would be more a matter of, International Criminal Court going after some of the Russian leaders, certainly the troops on the ground who committed war crimes, things like that. I don't think the UN would do much. So there wouldn't be a role for them to sort of investigate previous wars because they don't really do anything. I mean, that's not really their job. What you could have now, you could have war crimes investigations. I mean, were there war crimes that happened during the earlier, war when Russia stole Crimea? I mean, frankly, there ought to be, I don't know that they are, maybe they are, but there ought to be war crimes investigations of Syria. Now, one problem with that I've read too is that with the war crime stuff, some of these investigations take 20 years. I mean, so it's kind of crazy, So yeah, so I don't know. I just don't think there's anything. I'm also going to get some coffee as we're talking. I don't think there's anything the UN would be doing anyway to investigate. That's not really what they do. 1 second, guys. Get my mug. I have the rest of my coffee sitting in a thermos, waiting for me. There we go. Oops. All right. So should I have enough milk in there? A little more milk. 1 moment. All right. There we go. All right. Still here. Yep. Dog is still asleep. Whoa. Oh. All right. No more serious talk. Oh, here we go, microphone. There we go, microphone. Some scotch. I missed that discussion on TikTok. Lion Coffin Company, don't know that. Thank you. It's my little apartment. It's a 1-bedroom. History of Sasha. I got her when she was 10 weeks old. I wanted to get a Yorkie Bichon because my sister had a Yorkie Bichon. Not Yorkie Bichon, a Yorkie Poo. And Kathy's Yorkie Poo, finally they had to put her to sleep a couple of weeks ago because she was very old and getting dementia and everything. But Carmela was a wonderful dog. And I liked Carmela, very smart and spunky and everything, personality. And I had to get a dog. I have allergies. So I had to get a dog that was good with allergies and very difficult to do. Very difficult. And what I found, for example, if you don't go and buy the dog, you will not find, at least in Washington, D.C., you will not find a dog that's good for allergies. This is the problem the Obamas had, actually. If you remember, I remember thinking back to this when I got Sasha because the Obamas, one of the daughters at least is very allergic, and they had to get a dog that was good with allergies, and they couldn't go to the local, humane society or whatever, and people were criticizing them. I get it now. I spent months, and I finally gave up because everywhere I went, I would see cute little dogs and say, okay, do you know what the breed is? No. And what the really sad thing is that I think it probably means, another missed question. No, say it ain't so. Okay, if there is, I'll jump back in. Oh, yeah, I saw that one already. I did that. Yeah, I answered Micah's already. Yeah, if the government rises up, would they do the previous war again as well? That's what I was saying. The UN wouldn't, yeah, we got into a whole discussion on that. Yep. I answered that one. I'll put it up just so you can see it, but I answered that. We talked about the UN wouldn't really be doing that anyway. It would be more war crimes, and they should be investigating everything anyway. Let me see here, but I think I'm just making one last chance to make sure Micah's question was answered. Putin allowed the courts to investigate the war. Would they? I mean, it's the issue would be there's a couple of ways of investigating war crimes. One is the UN. UN couldn't do it because it would have to be the United Nations Security Council approving it, and Russia's on the Security Council. They would veto it. The Hague, the International Criminal Court, is the obvious place. They're already investigating this. My suspicion is they must already be investigating the whether there were any war crimes in the previous war. If they were alleged, they must be investigating Syria. That's an obvious one, but we've heard nothing about it, so I don't know. I just don't know. But I don't. It's. I guess my point is there's no new threshold. It's not like, oh, now that they're involved, they can look at what happened in 2014. They already have the right to look at 2014 if, in fact, they believe something happened. So it wouldn't change things in terms of their ability to investigate for war crimes. All these places should already be investigating if there are any war crimes alleged, is what I'm saying. So it wouldn't change anything because it frankly should already be happening. It better be happening if they think there were any. Andrew, this is our fun chat now. Have you ever been to Savannah, Georgia? No, and I've heard it's wonderful, and I've never been. There's a great Greek restaurant right on the river. Oh, nice. Food is great and drinks are strong. I like my drinks weak, but my food's strong. No, I have the opposite problem. I've bartenders are always nice to me, and they're giving me really strong drinks, and I'm like, could you pour out half and add a little more orange juice? I've never liked a strong liquor flavor. So Sasha, anyway, so I had to buy her because all the pound and stuff here, all the places didn't have, they didn't know what the dogs were, which is really sad because it made me think that the dogs were either they were abandoned or their owners died. Because how do you not know? I mean, unless if it's a mutt, of course, if your dog's a mixture of everything, but these were some dogs that were clearly not a mixture of everything. And it was, in any case, they didn't know. And some of the places, my friend found one place. I thought this was a great idea. Well, Chicago, I'm from Chicago. I know Greektown. I don't like Greek restaurant food. The only Greek restaurant food I've ever found that I've liked has been in America has been New York City. Every Greek restaurant in New York City was delicious, tasted like the way I make it, my mom makes it, my grandma made it. Whereas other stuff I've never liked. I don't remember if I've been to Ukrainian Village. I don't remember. In any case, so it was very hard to find a dog. And I finally got Sasha. I had to buy her because there was no way to find a dog that I knew what they were. I was like, Bichon, that's interesting. I read Bichon could be a little bigger than a Yorkie Poo, so I was a little worried. But, she's 9.5, 10 pounds. My sister's Yorkie Poo is 8.5 pounds. So it's exactly what I wanted because I fly with her back to Chicago. I pay for the ticket, but then she's in my carry-on bag, which we're going to do next week to visit mom. So it's nice. But no, she's great. She's just smart as hell, has the tenacity of a Yorkie. So the terriers are very boom, boom. They're little fighters. And the Bichons love everybody. So she goes nuts at my door. It happened this morning. Every time she hears the neighbor's kid who's 4 years old go by, she heard the voice and then she smells her and goes crazy at the door because she smells the kid and wants to see her, which is very cute, but drives me a little nuts because it literally it's at the door and you're going, okay, please stop, 3 times a day, but it's cute. I'm glad. So we have playtime Saturday and Sunday nights around 6, we get together and we have playtime. Now, actually, Lori, not necessarily. My family loves going to Greek restaurants. Whenever we do family stuff, they prefer Greek, which is funny. I mean, I've been telling my mom, I'm like, please let's not go Greek again. I just don't love Greek restaurants in America. They don't taste like the way we make it. That's funny, Crystal. Thank you. That's really funny. So much my kids now refer to you by name when they hear your voice. Exactly. Well, don't tell dad or mom number 2, whichever you have. I actually had that once. A friend of mine, her husband was jealous of me because we were such good friends. And I'm like, he knows I'm gay. She goes, yeah, but he doesn't like, he says our relationship is too close. He doesn't like how we can talk and stuff. And I'm like, that's because I'm not a straight guy that I can talk to you. And we can have fun chatting and be open. But it was very funny. He was jealous. I'm like, that the concept was fascinating to me. Straight guy being jealous. But anyway, Yeah, Yorkies. I find all the Yorkies I've met have been very sassy. All of them, I think, actually. I've never found a Yorkie that I thought was very, that was kind of, tame, And Carmela had the Yorkie in her. She was like the zoomy Yorkie, like get so excited. The Yorkie poo, my sister's. She'd zoom, zoom, zoom. Age 17, she'd see me. She'd be running around the house. Tomorrow, let's do the same time tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time U.S., because that way, as I said, I'm still doing my taxes. Basically, my taxes are going to have to be extended. That's actually easy to do. But you're supposed to at least try to get right how much you owe. And my guess is I might be owed money, but I'm not sure. So I want to at least try to get it right-ish. So it's funny. So I still feel nervous like my taxes are due, but I'm going to have to extend them because the government hasn't gotten done with my previous taxes. It's a mess. Just writing myself a note about this too. Anyway, yeah, so that's why I'm doing that. But yeah, no, so we'll do 1 o'clock tomorrow as well. 1 p.m. Eastern time U.S., which is Washington, D.C. time. Because that way it's just, well, I love the big dogs that still think they're lap dogs. Yeah, where they jump into your lap and stuff. That stuff cracks me up. We've got a neighbor down the hall, actually, who's a wonderful pit bull mix. Looks to be a pit bull and a basically looks like a puggle mixed with a pit bull. So I don't know whether that would be more pug or beagle, but like a puggle pit bull, but has the pit bull personality, sweet as can be, is super sweet with Sasha, which is nice because Sasha just does not like dogs in her face and everything else. Whereas with the neighbor's dog, who's a lab and is still kind of puppyish, I'm in Washington, D.C., the neighbor's dog loves to jump around like crazy. And this dog gets even crazier than the neighbor's dog to the point where it scares her because like the dog, but the pit bull will go, wah! But then with Sasha, gets that Sasha doesn't like to play, totally smells Sasha, hangs out, comes to me and loves just to sit and like have me pet his head. And he just kind of like wants to lick me. I mean, they're so funny. I don't know what it is about the crazy spam where these people always come at the very end of the show. It's crazy. Like, what does that get you? Oh God, here we go again. It cracks me up too, because like anybody would ever like click on a crazy link for spam in a chat. I don't think I would do that if I were you. Calling me crazy. Anyway, Pitbull Shih Tzu mix. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. A bullshoot. Oh, that is cute. Oh, that is cute. I like that bullshoot. Oh, yeah, because Shih Tzu, exactly. Pitbull Shih Tzu. It's not a bullshoot. It's exactly. Oh, that is funny. I love that. That makes me laugh. That's cute. It's funny. I had a podcast for 4 years. We just stopped. I've never been a podcast guy. I don't like listening to radio. I am a TV guy. I love watching TV. If I'm watching TV, I love watching TV. But I've never liked podcasts and radio. It's not my thing. So I wouldn't know. Partially, I think because I've always worked at home. So that's been part of it. Like if I were commuting to work, I remember like commuting to work, I used to love reading the paper because it would take me half hour or 45 minutes and being on the train and the bus and blah, blah, blah. It was nice to be able to actually do them. I'm reading your guys' comments to actually read the paper and stuff. So I would do a podcast on a bus, but I haven't been on a bus in 17 years. Maybe. I don't even, 30 years? 17 years. I think I haven't been on a bus since the 1990s. I'm not sure. I just don't ride buses in DC because it's not convenient really for places I need to go. What else we got? I mean, I just do the block on here. I don't think can you report? I always just see the block or mute or whatever thing. I never see. Thank you, Chloe. Appreciate that. I never see the. Okay, see you, Chloe. Oh, actually, okay. So here's my pronoun speech. Here's the problem. So this whole thing with pronouns is people, and I've been at meetings where this happened. Or not a meeting. I was at like a gathering where this happened, and they wanted everybody around the room to go around and tell their pronouns. And immediately, I'm there as like, progressive guy listening to this going, in my head, I'm going, you want me to tell you my gender identity? Seriously? Like seriously? And I've seen people with their emails where the offices like to be sort of friendly. So they encourage employees to put gender, not the gender, their pronouns at the bottom. Well, what if you're someone, I was in the closet at one point about being gay. There's no way in hell I would have told people, right? Because you're afraid. Well, what if somebody's in the closet about being transgender? and somebody looks like me and their real pronoun is she, her. Well, if you're in the closet about it, you're certainly not going to put it. So what do you do in that kind of a workplace? And the workplace says, well, we encourage it. Everyone, mind you, even if they don't say it, everyone else at work is putting it in there. The liberal workplace is putting it in their thing. Everybody else at meetings is saying they're what they are, right? And what do? You're in the closet about it. You actually are somebody who looks like me, a guy or whatever, but you're actually a she, her, but you're in the closet, so you don't want to tell people. Do you sit there and say, I'm not going to say, which now makes you look like you're some far right jerk, right? Now it makes you look like you're anti-trans or anti-whatever. Do you lie and say he, him? So now you force somebody who's already in the closet to lie about their gender identity. I think it is the most offensive thing. It is cute that people came up with it, and I use the demeaning word intentionally because I think it's sweet. I get the intent, but you're literally forcing people to out themselves, and it's totally inappropriate. And as somebody had said earlier, if somebody else wants to know the pronouns, tell them. Oh, there you go. Carrie just said it too. Somebody had said it earlier on TikTok. They said the same thing. Carrie B says, I'm a lesbian. If I want someone to know my pronouns, I'll tell them. No need to ask. Same thing about being gay. There was a famous, God, who was she? Was it Betty Brazan or something? She was a famous lesbian, like psychologist, psychotherapist, and she'd written a ton of great books on coming out. And I'm sure probably they'd help people with other things that they, don't, whatever, but about, coming out and letting people know. And she was telling a story about how, I'll tell you the punchline first. The punchline was like, no, I won't tell you the punchline. I'll tell you the story first. So the story was her partner, woman, or what, back then it was partner. This is like the 1990s, right? Wasn't wife, is at home, has a problem with the sink or whatever. She's at work. Partner stays home. Plumber comes by, and the plumber makes some kind of a comment about, well, you need a man in your life to be able to fix these things. This is the 1990s too. And she says, I thought about telling him, but this was the quote. Sometimes you just don't feel like coming out to the plumber. And that quote has stuck in my mind for 25 years now. And I loved, and frankly, it could be about you having cancer. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be negative per se, but it could be, a parent died or something. Like sometimes you just don't want to share. And you really sometimes don't want to share with somebody who isn't at all connected to you. And I would say even more so for gay, because even if you're okay being gay, you worry about them not being okay. So like I'd worry about what would the plumber do? What would the plumber freak out if he knew I was gay? Like who knows? Would he break something? So like, anyway, but I look at this the same way. I think you're putting people on the spot, and I don't like it. Anyway, that's my pronoun issue. But I've always wanted to write about this. I have to ask Newsweek to write about it or something, because I think it's an important issue because we've gone a little too far at times trying to be good, and I think we're being bad in that regard because we're putting people on the spot. So again, also, even at a meeting though, I mean, honestly, at a meeting, if you refer to my pronouns, it's kind of rude. Like, you should call me John. You shouldn't say him. Well, I agree with what he said, right? I mean, at a meeting, I agree with what she said. It just sounds rude. Like, when would you say, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like in English, when do you need to know their pronouns? I just don't get it. It's just as impolite, especially in business. It's impolite. You should use somebody's name. Whatever. And again, I don't mean to compare it to cancer, but it really is though. Like I've got some health issues. I haven't told everybody because it's like, I don't want to tell you all my health issues. Or I could imagine like a parent dying or something. Well, my dad died a few years ago. I didn't want to tell everybody. It was just weird because I didn't want to deal, in Dad's case, it was like, I didn't want to deal with oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like that conversation, you get tired of it, And there's lots of reasons why you may have something personal that you just don't want to tell people. But again, I look at the pronoun thing from from a sexual orientation perspective. You're literally asking me to say what my gender identity is, or at least gender identity is one of the, I don't get the 50 pronoun thing as somebody who has been a longtime LGBT rights activist. I find it a little odd, but whatever floats your boat. I mean, the 50 pronoun thing I find odd, but certainly transgender would come under the pronoun thing because it literally is saying, oh, I know I look like a guy. I'm actually a her, right? I'm a she. well, not everybody wants to. I'm going to bet you trans people are like gay people in the sense that not everybody wants to come out. And not everybody wants to come out to everybody. And in a workplace, here's my final point. As a lawyer, I would say that you're also looking for one hell of a lawsuit if you're making people, put their pronouns, because you're making somebody, in fact, just do that. By not putting, you're forcing me to come out, and you're making it uncomfortable, because if I don't put my pronouns, it looks like I'm actually anti-gay or anti-trans, which is even worse. All right, off my pedestal on that whole issue. Yeah, one or two more things and then we'll go, guys. I so don't want to do my damn taxes. I just want to start a little bit so I feel a little bit better. Start going through the numbers at least. Like my spreadsheet of deductions, which is always fun to go through. Not so bad though, but I'm always afraid of getting them wrong. I'm sort of that way. I mean, I'm very careful about taxes, but I'm just always terrified about getting them wrong. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's funny. Somebody on TikTok said, I don't understand why somebody's sexuality is your interest, why it matters to you. It's a fair point. I mean, there is something to be said, and you get this with gay rights, transgender, being black too. Visibility matters. And it matters because people don't often think of them as being black. So like a black woman as a Supreme Court justice in and of itself is a big deal. I mean, of course, you hope she's qualified, right? All of that. But it's a big deal because it hasn't happened before. And it starts to change the way people think about black people in general, for example, because now you've got, for black kids at the very least, you've got a role model. For young females, you've got a role model. For black females, even more so, you've got a role model, right? They can look up and be like, oh my God, I want to be like them. Barack Obama, huge. And hugely important for white people too. And again, whatever you think of his policies. So the gay thing as well, like for gay people, coming out was very important, especially for gay people, but it works for everybody else, because all of a sudden people got to know gay people and they knew people they knew were gay and people in their family and whatever. And all of a sudden they started to go, oh, well, that person's kind of normal. Like, I like him or I love him and that he's not bad. Oh, I just saw the dog moving around. I may try to get, oh yeah, she's moving. She's on the move. So that's why sometimes it matters to care about whether somebody's black or gay or whatever. The other thing is what also happens with like on gay stuff a lot, people don't understand how often throughout the day they say they're straight. And they don't realize it. Like straight people, they'll often think like, why do gay people have to tell me they're gay? But, if people asked what you did last night, you would tell me the bar you went to. If I told you the bar I went to, it would be a gay bar and I'd be outing myself, right? What did you do this weekend? Oh, I went with my wife and the kids to blah. Now you just told me you're straight, right? I went with my partner, Mike. I mean, I don't have a partner, but you know what I mean? Like it's this, the photo on your desk at work. Is it a guy or a gal? I mean, there's all sorts of ways the wedding rings, although now you've got wedding rings anyway, but there's all sorts of ways that people sort of, think it's normal to do things that they don't even realize they're announcing, for example, whether they're gay or straight. They don't even realize they're doing it, it's funny. Yeah. Anyway, but that's some of it too, why people sometimes feel the need to be public about something because you are trying to, you're trying to change things or you're trying to, and in the civil rights way, it helps. She may have heard my voice. Well, but you're right. She may have like, when you get excited about something, the dog will kind of look up. Now that is true. That is true. Yeah. I'm going to call it quits, guys. I know it's actually looking, we had more rain. Yes. The crazy dog smelled the rain before we got the rain yesterday. We had rain in DC last night. It was not raining yet. I didn't know it was going to rain. And it's like 6:00 at night or something. And she's standing by the couch, her tail's down and she starts shaking. And I'm like, oh my God, again. No, she's gotten to be Miss Trauma about storms. It's just as they get, I had read this too, like as they get older, things get worse. So she did it again. So then I check the weather and I see it's going to rain in an hour. And I'm like, how the hell? I'm going to loan her out to like the local CBS affiliate or something like, our new weather dog, Sasha, says it's going to rain tonight. But literally an hour before it rained, she knew there wasn't lightning. I mean, I checked the lightning too. The nearest lightning was 250 miles away. She didn't hear thunder. There's no way. She's just psychic. So yes, my crazy dog. So I'm looking out there and there's black clouds again. I'm like, please don't rain again. Please, if she sees rain, she flips. Please don't do it. All right. So I was told this time that because TikTok is delayed, I should say goodbye on TikTok and then give it a minute or two. So I'm going to do that. And then I'll do the YouTube thing. So TikTok, I'm saying goodbye, but I will let you stay there a minute so that you actually can hear my voice. You know what I think it is? It's delayed, which kind of makes sense. It's delayed maybe by a minute, but then I turn it off and it cuts the broadcast. So all of a sudden the delay never catches up, I guess is what happens. So I finally realized that now. So yeah, see now they're on TikTok. Now it's talking about the storms and the lightning, which was a minute ago. All right. So TikTokers, it is your job to tell me when you've got that I've said goodbye. Tell me I've said goodbye, so I know that I've said goodbye. And yeah, we will do this tomorrow. Yeah, weekdays we tend to do 7. Weekends we tend to do 2. Tomorrow I'm doing 1. I'm doing 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on Sunday. So remember that. I will put something on TikTok and I'll put something on YouTube so you'll see the actual thing reminding you that I'll do it right when we finish. I'll do it right now. Top of my profile in TikTok, you'll see that there's a little link. Actually, just so you know, there's a link if people schedule them for the live links on the TikTok profile, and you literally see, you go up to the profile part, scroll down, and you're going to go, oh, live event, blah, blah. You can click it, click remind me, and that can always help. Okay, there we go. Now people are saying goodbye. I did not know until somebody told me yesterday. Oh my God, sorry. Well, YouTube 5 seconds isn't bad, but on TikTok, it literally is like a, bye sister. On TikTok, it literally is like a minute delay, so it doesn't necessarily, I was cutting you all off before. Although one time the other night was because mom or something cut off and it was, oh, thank you. It's a little heart for the end. Something cut off and I was just like, what do you, and I did. Now that I see somebody, I always do forget to say follow me. At some point, I'm going to remember to say follow me someday. But yes, thank you guys. Thank you, moderators, as always. I'm still very excited about this Russian flag thing. I haven't seen a Russian flag the entire chat. Sorry. Not knocking Russia, just knocking that it's always the trolls. So they'll literally put like 50 Russian flags in a row just kind of as a It's like, guys, come on, grow up. All right. TikTok. Well, I'm hanging up on TikTok anyway, even though TikTok, there's no way to catch up on TikTok. So, all right, bye, TikTokers, even though you're never going to hear me saying that. It is kind of weird. There's no way to say goodbye on TikTok and have it actually work. Okay, YouTubers, you're only 5 seconds behind, so I'm going to say goodbye. I'll wait 5 seconds so that I know it's caught up. And tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time, we'll do this as well. And as I said, I'll put the notice up right now. All right? Okay. 5 seconds. I'm clicking the button. Goodbye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. There we go.